Whenever a famous person passed away, I could never quite understand the sentiment. To me, it was just another person with a famous name that had moved on. It didn't really affect me because it wasn't one of the people that I cared about. I could never really sympathize with people on things like this. I was very nonchalant about it. It was as if the fact that someone who was an inspiration, someone whose work deeply touched and improved the lives of many other people didn't matter. But now, after the events of this morning, I can really understand the feeling. It's a strange concept to grow an emotional attachment to someone you've never even met before. But it's so common in the modern world, and even across history. People idolizing others for their achievements and looking to them for inspiration, and using their art or their work as a means to get through their day easier. When someone's work allows you to even briefly flee your difficult existence and be lost in a world of someone else's, it means quite a lot to lose. You get lost in it. When someone so deeply talented passes, it's a true loss for this world. Even more so when they're still young and have plenty of time left to ever create or to just simply exist on Earth and to live their life for their own reasons. The loss of huge talents ripples through the lives of whoever experienced their work, especially when it's a figure of great importance and great admiration from the industry. Their loss shakes the industry and brings to light the true love and passion that people have for their art. It's always sweet to see the appreciation of an artist is gone, but maybe it would have been sweeter to see it while they were still around. When it comes to Kentaro Miura, I feel that as fans of his work, we didn't appreciate him enough in the moment, always making idolmaster jokes, memes, and complaining about the lack of chapters and the messy schedule of each release. And of course, with each chapter, we would be amazed and congratulate him on his talent as an illustrator, with each incredible panel he would produce. But in retrospect, it just feels as if we were ungrateful. But I believe these feelings of regret are natural after such a piece of news. Whenever some new information that changes many things is revealed, be it in your personal life or just generally, you tend to look back on and regret how you interacted with someone else or something. Our minds seem to be stuck in the past. Even when we want to look ahead, we get stuck in the past again. And, well, as we all know, moving forward is what we're supposed to do, right? When I woke up on the morning of May 20th, 2021, I checked my phone and immediately scrolled down to see what was up. I looked on YouTube, as I usually do, and I checked the Sky News community posts, as it was the usual comments, some making fun of Sky News, some talking about the topic of the post. But one comment stood out to me. Someone with no context just posted, "R.I.P. Kentaro Miura." A strange feeling surged through my stomach, as this was unusual. Why would someone talk about Miura in a post about Israel? Following this strange feeling in my gut, I googled Miura's name and was met with the unexpected. What followed was a flow of emotion. Confusion, initially, then a deep sadness, immediately tailed by my eyes flashing out a waterfall, and me breaking down into a pathetic mess. It's quite unusual for me to get emotional, especially with someone else, but seeing this shattered me. Even then, I'm just a fan of his work. I never knew the man. I never got to share moments with him. I wasn't related to him. All I knew of him was what he chose to tell us about himself, the few images of him, and the work that he wrote and illustrated. The story, the characters that he put his heart and soul into, the characters that made me view my life differently. I would never be able to feel the same pain as his family and friends are going through, and to them I'm so sorry for your loss, and I pray that they'll be able to recover from losing such a wonderful man from their lives. As someone who's lost family, I can sympathize to the nth degree. I would like to take the time to thank Miura for making this world, the story, these characters that changed my outlook on human existence, and I think put me on a better path in life. Over the years, I had heard of Berserk a number of times, seen the characters and not thought much of it. I had a close friend who would reference it from time to time, and that was as far as my connection went. But for a while I was undergoing some deep, dark times, the worst of my life up until that point. And this friend sent me a link, telling me to read Berserk. I said that I couldn't be bothered, and I was too tired to check it out tomorrow, which really meant I wouldn't never check it out. However, he said something that made me stop for a moment. Something along the lines of, what happens in this is what you're going through, if I recall correctly. And so I clicked the link. And the link led me to chapter 95 of Berserk, the beginning of the Conviction arc, also known as Lost Children arc. I was met with many things at once. This magnificent art, it was so detailed and fantastically drawn, and it brought up so many questions in my mind, like, what had gone on? Who is this tall, dark-robed badass wielding something that was too big to be called a sword? It was massive, thick, heavy, and far too rough. Indeed, it was like a slab of raw iron. Safe to say, I didn't stop reading. I kept going and going, until I got a bit too far ahead, and so my friend told me to stop, and I go back right to the beginning, to the Black Swordsman arc. And so, I read all of it. I went through every chapter over the span of a few days, doing nothing but reading Berserk. Maybe sleeping every now and again, maybe eating, but I didn't leave the page. I'd never been so transfixed in a world before. My eyes burned from staring at pages of black and white for hours on end. My ears were aching from wearing headphones and immersing myself in the glorious soundtracks, all whilst my mind hungered for more. And as the story progressed, the tragic relationship between Guts and Casca would break me down, and caused me to cry many times, that beautiful, distinct atmosphere of Guts' theme. It was an experience, an emotional roller coaster, a journey of excitement that I would never forget. I greatly appreciate works of art that can bring out the emotions within me. It means a lot when a story can invoke such deep emotional reaction, as people comment that I am kind of emotionally devoid sometimes and a bit detached. But when this happens, it proves to me that I am a human, I'm emotional, I feel things, and because of that, Berserk stuck with me. Since that week, Berserk became my favourite. It became the baseline for every story I'd experienced afterwards. Nothing could compare to its scope, the depth of its characters, the journey, the emotional trauma, the artistry, and the technical finesse of NieR's pen strokes. It was a truly special story. If you're somehow yet to read Berserk for yourself, this is my request, to please read and experience this magnificent journey. It has some flaws, but the beauty beneath the darkness is what makes it truly shine. A story of hope and optimism, and fighting against fate itself. It's an inspiring story of one man fighting against the entire world, the ultimate story of struggle, sacrifice, and perseverance. And after that I hit the end of the manga. I was hit with a bit of upset that it was over, but I had optimism and excitement for the future. I could join the Berserk community, and the long memed waits and the hiatuses, I would be a struggler myself, struggling to wait between each chapter, joining in on each disappointment when there wasn't a new chapter in Young Animal, and then losing my mind over what lore would be revealed in the new chapters. But it seems as if that struggle will remain perpetual for all of us. It is likely that Berserk will be left on hiatus for the rest of time, which is tragic yet understandable. It's unfortunate that Miura's life work, 30 plus years of artistic mastercraft and storytelling genius, is going to end with a whimper. But that's just how life is. It isn't fair. You aren't guaranteed a happy ending, or even a resolved ending at all. It can just end and never continue like that. It hurts to think about, however, it is how life is. We just have to pick ourselves up and struggle on forwards, just like Guts would. Just how Miura has been telling us with his story. I think it would be a bit concerned if someone else were to pick up the reins a few months down the line to finish the manga in Miura's stead, but perhaps if we taught the studio well enough, left behind notes and directed them on what to do if we passed. However, it's best not to hold out hope, and to conclude for now that Berserk is over, and Miura's masterpiece will remain frozen in time. But what is left is Miura's legacy. The cultural impact of his work is staggering. So many franchises and other creative artists have been inspired by his world, be it directly or indirectly. For example, Yoko Taro was heavily inspired by Berserk. The entire Soul series would not exist without Berserk. Countless dark fantasy anime, as well as many other video game and anime characters, being inspired by the cast of Berserk. The influence within creative industries is astounding, and the amount of creatives inspired by his work will only grow more with time. It's a tragedy to have lost someone so important to many different lives, yet we have to struggle on and try to find hope within these dark times. For if we do not hold our optimism, if we don't push forwards and try to build our own path, well, we would ignore the messages that Miura laid down for us. Miura was a man that was, according to his peers, was like a boy who always seemed to have fun, was never angry, and was constantly cheerful, being a stickler for the detail and perfection of his work. A true example of what an artist should strive to be like, a man to admire and to look up to as an inspiration for every artist and, honestly, most people. A man that stuck to his passion, his dream, for his entire life, dedicated to doing what he loved. Writing and drawing all day, and creating some of the most magnificent manga panels to ever grace the world. And I'm sure, as the quote goes, he died doing what he wanted, no matter what, right? I bet he was happy.